Did you see what they just did with ChatGPT? They've got a thing now called GPT Live, and it is amazing. I know we hear that a lot with AI. I'm going to show you what you can do with it as a content creator, as an entrepreneur who's creating value, how you're going to be able to use all this specifically. We're going to get nitty gritty. This is going to be a different video than I normally put together. You're going to see how it works and what can be done for you. We do that a lot at our Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. I'm Terry Brock, and I'm going to show you exactly what to be done. Let's get right into it here. Here we go. We're in ChatGPT right now, and I'm using the latest version here. You'll see it's got some different things on the screen. As you look, you see up here on the top, we've got the chat and work. These come through here with version 5.6. But I want to call your attention to something real important over here. You'll see over here in this corner, we've got some microphones that are available. Now that can be a little bit confusing because you think, wait a minute, which microphone do I use for what? And it can do a lot of different things. Well, let me give you the answers on that right now. Let's get right to the chase here. When I come over here on this and I look at it, you see when I mouse over this, it's showing me that we've got some start and stop here with hands-free. So this way I can get some hands-free information using it that way. It's very handy for that, but this is going to be a little bit different than what we're going to do. Over here, you'll also see one here where you can dictate. Now, I like to use this one a lot. The dictation gives you the ability to, dictate and get a lot of good things done. But what I want to focus on right now is what you're going to need here in this waveform. You'll see on the waveform that it gives you the ability to do quite a bit, and that's where we're going to bring up ChatGPT and go into GPT Live. And so this way, you'll be able to see the kinds of things that it can do, what it can do to help you out, and that. I'm going to click on it right over here, going into it, and notice what happens. And there we are, ChatGPT. Can you hear me now okay?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear, sounding good on my end. How's it coming through on yours?
Hey, it's coming through just fine. So I want to ask you about this thing called GPT Live. It sounds like a really good thing. I've seen it. I'm going, wow, you and I have talked about it. You know what we're going to talk about. And I've got all my friends here joining us using the tools here. We're going to be out on many different places doing this. So I want you to, first of all, say hello to my friends that are joining us right now.
Hey there, everyone. Great to have you here. Really glad you're joining Terry and me for this. You're jumping into something pretty exciting because tools like GPT Live are opening up a whole new way to create, communicate, and connect in real time.
Okay,
Terry,
I'm going to interrupt you right there because that's one of the things we can do. I can jump in and interrupt real quickly, and that's nice. It's kind of like a live conversation where we can go back and forth. So I want you to, in like 2 paragraphs, real short sentences, tell me what's going on and how we would use this thing, how content creators and creative conductors can use GPT Live when they're working with ChatGPT.
got it. And nice move jumping in like that, because that is exactly how this shines. GPT Live is real-time back and forth conversation with AI using your voice, your camera, or both. You can think out loud, ask questions, test ideas, and get immediate responses like you're talking with a colleague sitting right next to you. It's fast, fluid, and great for capturing ideas while they're still fresh, instead of waiting to type everything out later.
Yeah, and I think
For
one of the things that you and I were talking about was real good. I want you to share with my friends here that really what we're talking about is a way to do things, well, a little bit different. We're not just getting another answer. We're used to, from years and years of working with Google, type in something, what is the capital of Japan? And it comes back and says Tokyo. Well, this is not just trying to get an answer. This is a way for, I like the way you have told me before, collaboration and having a thinking partner that is there to help me think better. Tell me a little bit more about that, and particularly for my friends that are joining us, how GPT Live helps us to have a little bit better thinking. Give me that in about maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs.
Yeah, you're exactly right to draw that distinction. This isn't type a question, get an answer, move on. That's search. GPT Live is much closer to sitting across from a smart, fast thinking partner who helps you work through ideas, not just look them up. You can say, here's what I'm thinking. And instead of a single answer, you get pushback, refinement, angles you hadn't considered. It's the difference between getting a fact and developing a thought.
Yeah,
What
I
makes
think that's a good way to put it. It's not just developing a fact, you're thinking it through in the critical thinking. You and I have been doing a lot of talk on this Chat GPT beforehand, putting it together. That's why this video is a little bit different than the kind I normally do. Using this here, putting it together. I want to go through some of the notes that I have. You say it's really a way of thinking and leaping beyond just think and just talking back and forth. We're kind of thinking back and forth. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and here's where it gets interesting. When you say you're thinking back and forth, that's not just a clever phrase, it's actually a different mode of cognition. Normally, thinking is internal and a bit messy. You've got half-formed ideas, loose connections, maybe a good instinct, but not fully shaped. When you bring GPT Live into the loop, you're externalizing that thinking. You say it out loud, it reflects it back, challenges it, extends it, and now your idea has something to push against. That
Yeah,
friction.
I like that. As a matter of fact, one of the things that you said to me that I thought was really good is we can ask ChatGPT, help me to think that through better. What questions am I not asking that I should? Or what are variables out there that I don't know about that I probably should know in this situation? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that right there is one of the most powerful moves you can make. When you ask, what am I not asking? You're stepping outside your own blind spots. All of us think inside a frame. We see what we see based on experience, assumptions, and habits. GPT Live can help you expand that frame in real time. It can surface variables you didn't consider, alternative perspectives, second order effects, things that normally only show up after you've made a mistake or after someone else points them out.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there in the way you look at it. So what we're doing is we're looking at what's going on and we're tapping into areas in a real conversation. Because when you think about it, a voice conversation is very natural for human beings, all the way back to the time we were running around in the caves. We talk to each other, we use some kind of guttural utterances that they did back at the cave or what we're doing right now. And some might wonder if we're doing any better right now, but I think we are to an extent. There's a lot there. But it's not just I'm going to a genie, rubbing the genie and rubbing the bottle, I should say, and out comes the genie, and the genie says, "Oh, what is the answer you need, or what it is?" Chat GPT is not that. GPT Live is not that at all. And sometimes I think that's what we want as human beings, but gives us much more of a chance to kind of encourage us to think. And the way you and I have done it, you and I have gone through this as I'm preparing for this video, asking, what about this and what about that? And then we would come up with a whole lot of, yeah, but what about kind of questions, thinking of things we might not have gone to on our own. Tell me a little bit about the benefits of that for content creators and creative conductors.
You're right. And let's be honest for a second. If this were just a magic genie, it would actually make your thinking worse, not better. You'd get quick answers, sure, but you'd skip the wrestling match where real insight comes from.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good point. I think we'd skip that and we'd miss out on a lot of things.
exactly. And that's the quiet danger most people don't see. If you skip that back and forth thinking, you often end up with content that's fine, not wrong, not terrible, just surface level. And in today's world, fine gets ignored. What you're doing here is pushing past that first layer, those extra questions, those little, wait a minute, what about this moments? That's where originality comes from. That's where you find the angle your competitors didn't think of, or the phrasing that suddenly clicks with your audience. It's not
Yeah,
about.
I think that's important. It's one of the things there, and this is very natural. And by the way, one of the things I've been doing is interrupting, which is normal in conversation, not always polite, but we want to jump in there at the right time to say, well, okay, wait a minute, we're going the wrong direction here. I can jump in and do that. And the mechanism, the nuts, bolts, and wiggle pins that are baked into GPT Live now allows that. So we can look at it that way. Now, one of the other things I thought was very interesting that it gives us the ability to do live translation. In the past, we've had to have, first of all, interpreters that would interpret back and forth, and we've had some technology that does that. I remember I was working with a client recently, and we got a chance to see a little device that she had. She was the president of a very large Chinese firm visiting here in the United States. We talked back and forth using a device so that as I would speak in English, she would hear it in Mandarin. and then she could speak in Mandarin and I would hear it in English. That's nice to have that. But it sounds like with GPT Live, we now have that already baked into ChatGPT. Is that correct? And tell me a little bit about that and how we could use that real in just a few paragraphs.
Yeah, you've got it. That capability is essentially baked in now, and it's a big leap forward. With GPT Live, you can speak naturally in one language and have it translated on the fly into another, then hear or read the response back in your language. It's not just word for word translation either. It aims to carry meaning, tone, and intent. So instead of stopping, typing, waiting, and then responding, you can have a flowing, real time conversation across languages, much closer to how two people would naturally interact. For
I
you
like
and
that. That makes a lot of sense that we could then do it. I've tried it just a little bit. I want to try it a lot more, but where I could speak in English and someone else might speak only in their native language, whatever that might be, say Spanish or Russian, Japanese languages I'm working on right now. This way we can do it. It seems like that would be good for, yes, translation, but also how could you see that being used for someone who says they want to learn when they're working on another language to learn it? How would this new feature help them?
oh, now you're stepping into a really powerful use of this. Language learning is where this shines in a very practical way. With GPT Live, you're not just memorizing vocabulary or doing drills, you're having a real conversation at your level. You can speak in English, try a sentence in Spanish or Russian, stumble a bit, correct yourself, and keep going. And here's the key: you can ask it to slow down, repeat, or explain in the moment. That's something most apps can't do. It turns learning into a live coaching session instead of a static lesson. What
I
makes
like
it
that. A live coaching session rather than just a static lesson. It sounds really good. And that's something that those of you who are watching this, I would say you want to make sure that if you're interested in that, look into it a little bit more. Get into GPT Live. It is outstanding what it can do and do a lot of things for you. Now, ChatGPT, I want to go back to you. When we were practicing this, as I was getting things together, I came up with some hypotheticals. Excuse me. It's something like, suppose we had a question about the law and we had a legal question, particularly on copyright. What we might want to do is, first of all, remember that you would want to go to a real lawyer, one that had passed the bar exam and went to law school, all those kind of good things. Yes, that's what you want. But let's suppose a lawyer that did go to law school and is a copyright lawyer, has done it for years. She's really good at that, one of the best around, but she's got a question about a new thing that's out there. I was thinking, well, she could go to ChatGPT as a lawyer, say, pretend to be a lawyer and do this. And you help me on that because it's not just like, as we've said before, act as a lawyer who understands copyright law. What would you recommend on this? Well, a much better way is doing something a little bit different, a different nuance. Tell us about that and what you told me and what could be a good practice for my hypothetical here of a copyright lawyer who is a real lawyer, really understands copyright, has worked in it for years. How could that kind of person use ChatGPT Live to get better analysis, better research, better case study law, find out what's going on?
Yeah, this is a great example. And here's the tweak that makes a big difference. Instead of saying, act as a copyright lawyer and give me the answer, a stronger move is to say, here's my current thinking, challenge it, test it, and show me where it might break. In other words, you're not asking for a final answer from an expert persona. You're using GPT Live as a second set of eyes that can pressure test your reasoning, surface edge cases, and point out angles you may have missed. That's a much more reliable way to think with it. For your hypothetical copyright lawyer, GPT Live becomes a rapid analysis partner. She can describe the situation, outline her interpretation of the law, and then say things like what precedents might contradict this, or what recent developments could change this analysis, or where are the gray areas here. That pushes the conversation into deeper territory, less
Yes,
about
I think that's a very good point, what you're saying. That pushes it into deeper territory. So it's not so much what we've heard a lot in working with AI. We've heard many people say, act as such and such, act as, and there's a place for that. That is good. What you want to do here is you're getting someone to give you a different perspective and have you think more clearly and maybe let you think, oh, wait a minute, that could apply to this. Or what about this case law I remember on da 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 da? They would do it. It seemed like the same thing could apply in many other professions. Like, for instance, if a heart surgeon needs to make a decision on a particular procedure, a real medical doctor who is a heart surgeon, went to medical school, all that kind of stuff, might call up a colleague because we all have colleagues. We need those in our professions today so we can exchange ideas and say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Or would this technique be good or not? Rather than saying this is one doctor talking to another doctor, you're looking for particularly maybe new studies that were done, or you're going to do a little bit of more research to find out, am I asking the right questions here and trying to get it done the right way? Tell me a little bit of how that might work, that scenario, not with a heart surgeon, but maybe with a couple of content creators that are looking to find out how do we get more views on YouTube? And they want to know, what questions should I ask? What would be a way that ChatGPT and GPT Live particularly could help out on that?
You're right on the money with that comparison. It's less give me the answer and more help me think like someone who's seen a lot of angles. For content creators, that shift is huge. So imagine two creators talking through how do we get more views on YouTube? Instead of asking for tips, they jump into GPT Live and say, here's what we're doing now. Titles, thumbnails, posting schedule, topics, where are we likely missing the mark? Now the conversation changes. GPT Live can start surfacing better questions. Are your titles creating curiosity or just describing the video? Are you optimizing for click-through rate first or watch time? What does your audience actually care about versus what you think they care about? Suddenly, you're not just collecting tactics, you're diagnosing the real problem. Then you take it a step further. You can say, push back on this. Why might this strategy fail? Or what are creators in my niche doing that I'm not? Or even, if you were the algorithm, what signals would you look for to promote this video? Now you're pressure testing your approach, just like those professionals do in their fields. You're uncovering blind spots, not just adding more noise.
I
And
like
here,
that. Not just uncovering blind spots or adding more noise. What you're doing is you're really getting in there in depth to find out what is going on. And I think that's where we're going to be able to use this as a real tool to help us a lot. And for those of you watching this video, there's a lot we can do on this to get us to think better. One of the things I found real helpful was what ChatGPT did for me in several hours, many hours of preparation for this video that I wanted to put together for you, to say, what about this and what about that? And it asked me questions, and I started to come up with other ideas. And I was getting ideas, much like you get together with a group of people that you want to converse with back and forth, and you come up with ideas that you wouldn't have had just by yourself. But by having the 2 or 3 people, you're really kind of getting a mastermind. And what we're getting is, with ChatGPT now, with the GPT capabilities that we have here, we're able to do a lot more with GPT Live because of the capabilities that are there. Well, we could go on for hours, and matter of fact, we probably will. So ChatGPT, as we kind of sum up here and we're moving on, for those that are watching this, tell me some of the ways they should look at this and what they should not do. Just give me that in about 3 or 4 paragraphs real quickly in about 60 seconds or less.
you got it. Here's the straight take. First, look at GPT Live as a thinking partner, not an answer machine. Bring it your rough ideas, your half-baked concepts, your I'm not sure about this moments. Talk it through. Let it challenge you, refine your thinking, and help you see angles you missed. That's where the real value is, not in getting answers faster, but in getting better thinking. Second, use it to ask better questions, not just get better outputs. Say things like, what am I missing? Where could this fail? What would my audience push back on? That's how you move from surface level content to something that actually connects and stands out. The creators who win with this are the ones who stay curious and keep probing deeper. Now, what not to do, don't treat it like a magic genie that hands you perfect answers you can blindly trust. It's powerful, but it's not infallible. You still need judgment, experience, and verification, especially in areas like legal, medical, or financial decisions. Use it to augment your thinking, not replace it. And finally, don't just consume, engage. Talk with it, interrupt it, redirect it, push it. That back and forth you've been doing here, that's the secret sauce. The more actively you participate, the more value you'll get. And that's what turns this from a neat tool into a real competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Well, ChatGPT, we appreciate you joining me as a guest here. My friends that are watching this right now kind of think, isn't that kind of like a podcast where you can bring in a guest and ask questions? Well, yes, now we can. We can use that. We can get all kinds of answers, and we appreciate that. And each of my friends now can tap immediately into you and start talking about that, making sure they're getting GPT Live. We'll talk about more of the nuts, bolts, and wiggle pins of how to make that happen. But in ChatGPT, you should be able to do it. So ChatGPT, as you and I have been doing, I would say spasiba bolshoy, and you would understand what I mean by that. Tell the folks out there what I just said.
I like that. Nice touch, bringing in the Russian version. What you said, spasibo большое, means thank you very much. So I'll send it right back to you and your audience. Spasibo большое for having me be a part of this.
You bet. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing what we can do here. We've got something that I thought would be fun. And by the way, as you're watching this, I want you to think about what you can do and how you could start using these kind of tools for many things. Like, for instance, why not have a podcast where, like I just did, ChatGPT is your guest, and you ask all kinds of good questions, going back and forth, and come up with other ideas, etc., and have ChatGPT be an expert or talk about this area. Not so much be an expert, but work with it. You heard what we did on that. So, and I want to hear from you. What do you think? This is a completely different kind of video than I've ever done before. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. That will really matter a lot. And we're here to help you to make sure you can get the things you want. And we got another video for you over here that's going to talk about that specifically and how you can do it. I'm Terry Brock with Stark Raving Entrepreneurs, along with my partner Gina Carr. We're here to help you with how you can use these tools and get the maximum out of it. Thank you very much for joining me today.